History tells us that electricity is a modern invention. We are told that before the 19th century, humanity lived in darkness. But history might be wrong. What if I told you that 2,000 years before Alessandro Volta and long before Nikola Tesla, the deserts of Iraq were hiding a secret power? It wasn't made of steel and glass. It was made of clay and asphalt, an impossibility buried in the sand. This is the story of the Baghdad Battery, the technology that shouldn't exist. The story begins in 1938. German archaeologist Wilhelm König was searching through the dusty archives of the National Museum of Iraq. He wasn't looking for a technological revolution. He was cataloging artifacts found in Kujut Rabu, near Baghdad. He didn't find gold or statues of forgotten gods. He found something far more disturbing. A collection of simple, yellow clay jars, dating back to the Parthian or Sassanid periods, roughly 2,000 years ago. At first glance, they looked like common storage vessels. But König noticed something peculiar. The mouths of the jars were sealed with bitumen, a type of asphalt used for waterproofing. Sticking out of the asphalt was an iron rod, and inside the jar, surrounding the iron rod, was a cylinder made of copper. König was stunned. As a man of science, he realized that this specific arrangement of metals, iron and copper, insulated by asphalt, looked exactly like a galvanic cell. If you pour an electrolyte into this jar, something acidic like grape juice, vinegar, or lemon juice, a chemical reaction occurs. Electrons flow from the iron to the copper. This wasn't just a pot, it was a power plant. Since the discovery, engineers and historians have built replicas to test this theory. After World War II, Willard Gray, an engineer at General Electric, built exact duplicates. When he filled them with a vinegar solution, the ancient design came to life, producing about 1 to 2 volts of electricity. Decades later, the famous show Mythbusters confirmed the same results. The science is undeniable. The jars can produce electricity. The mechanics work. But the archaeological community remains divided because of one haunting question. What did the ancients do with this power? They had no light bulbs. They had no motors. So, why build a battery? There are 3 prevailing theories, each more fascinating than the last. The first theory is the divine shock. In the ancient world, temples were places of awe and fear. Imagine a dark sanctuary. A statue of a god stands in the shadows. A priest, using these batteries hidden behind a curtain, connects the current to the metal statue. When a worshiper comes to touch the idol, they receive a sudden, tingling electric shock. To the believer, this isn't science. It is the touch of the divine. It is magic engineered by man. The second theory is ancient medicine. We know that the Greeks and Romans used electric torpedo fish to numb pain. It is entirely possible that these batteries were used as a localized portable source of analgesic electricity, a primitive form of acupuncture or pain relief for the rich and powerful. But the third theory is the most controversial and perhaps the most exciting: electroplating. Some researchers, like Dr. Arne Eggebrecht, demonstrated that by linking several of these batteries together, you could generate enough current to electroplate gold onto silver. This would allow artisans to create jewelry that looked like solid gold but was much cheaper to produce. If this is true, the Parthians possessed industrial chemical knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered for another 1,800 years. And this leads us to an even deeper mystery. If they had batteries, did they have other components? Fringe theorists often point to the reliefs in the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, Egypt. They argue that the massive lotus flowers depicted on the walls look suspiciously like giant light bulbs, complete with filaments and cables. Could the Baghdad batteries have been the power source for a form of ancient lighting? Tragically, we may never know the truth. During the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the National Museum was looted. Many original artifacts were stolen, destroyed, or lost to history. We may have lost the chance to study them with modern forensic technology. Were these jars simply containers for sacred scrolls, as some skeptics claim? If so, why the complex arrangement of copper and iron? Why the asphalt insulation? The skeptical explanation simply does not fit the engineering precision of the object. So we are left with a ghost, a piece of technology that arrived too early, or perhaps a remnant of a lost scientific age that faded into myth. 2,000 years ago, somewhere in the desert, a spark jumped between two wires, and for a brief moment, the ancient world was electric. For more mysteries beyond the evident history, make sure to subscribe and join the search.